If you wait until spring feels warm to start planting your garden, you are already behind. Not a little behind, weeks behind. And most people do not realize that until they're standing in a crowded garden center buying whatever is left on the shelf. Gardens rarely fail because of bad weather. They fail in February. They fail when planning is delayed and decisions are rushed. By the time the frost clears, the structure should already exist. February is not planting season, it is decision season. The gardeners who harvest the most food are not working harder in May, they're thinking earlier in winter. Today, I'm going to show you a simple planning system that prevents wasted money, prevents missed windows, and gives your entire season direction before the first seed touches soil. Most advice tells you what to grow. This tells you when to act. That timing difference changes everything. The growing season does not begin when seeds enter soil. It begins when you decide what you are growing and when it will start. Every week that decision is delayed shortens your productive window and tightens your margin. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant require 8 to 10 weeks indoors before transplanting. If your average last frost date is mid-April, those seeds belong in trays by mid-February. If your frost date is early May, early March becomes your latest safe start. Waiting until April to think about tomatoes means you already gave away weeks of production. February gives you something April never will. Calm. Shelves are stocked. Seed packets are available. Supplies are not picked over. You are not competing with urgency. Planning now creates margin, and margin creates confidence. Before choosing crops or buying supplies, you need one number: your average last frost date. This date anchors your entire calendar and prevents guesswork from creeping in. Search your zip code along with average last frost date and write it down. Treat this as your reference point, not your start date. Everything works backward or forward from here. If your frost date is April 15th and tomatoes require 8 weeks indoors, count backward 8 weeks. Apply the same logic to peppers, cabbage, broccoli, lettuce, and herbs. Assign each crop a clear start window. In a matter of minutes, your season transforms from a vague intention into a structured timeline. Without this anchor, timing becomes emotional instead of logical. People start too early creating root-bound plants that struggle, or they start too late and wonder why their harvest is weak. A frost-based calendar removes both extremes and replaces them with predictability. If you've just looked up your frost date or know it by memory, drop it in the comments below right now. Something like Zone 7B, April 20th. I read every comment and it helps me tailor upcoming videos to your exact growing zones. Crop selection determines workload more than enthusiasm ever will. Many gardeners choose crops based on excitement or trends, but excitement fades when maintenance increases. A garden must survive real life, not just inspiration. If space is limited, focus on value per square foot. Grow what is expensive to buy and productive in small areas. Herbs, tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens deliver strong returns in compact systems. A basil plant harvested weekly offsets grocery costs. A single tomato plant in a 5-gallon container can produce 15 to 20 pounds of fruit over a season. Here's how space actually breaks down. A standard 5-gallon container holds 1 tomato plant, 1 pepper, or 3 to 4 herb plants. A 4-foot by 4-foot raised bed supports 4 tomato plants with companion basil underneath, or 16 heads of lettuce in succession. A 10-foot balcony railing can hold 12 to 15 individual pots, producing herbs, greens, and compact pepper varieties. Walk your growing space with a tape measure and write the dimensions down. Or line up every container you plan to use and count them. Then assign crops based on priority and realistic consumption. If your household eats 2 salads per week, 4 lettuce plants staggered every 2 weeks keeps the supply steady without waste. 3 basil plants replace every grocery store purchase for the season. Math prevents both shortage and overflow. Contrast that with crops like corn or pumpkins, which require large footprints and offer limited return in small gardens. They are not wrong crops. They are the wrong crops for tight systems. Limit yourself to 3 to 5 primary crops. Simplicity increases consistency. A focused garden receives attention. A scattered garden receives neglect. Match your garden to your kitchen. Grow what your household actually eats. Check your USDA hardiness zone and confirm timing on seed packets. Climate compatibility matters more than popularity. Layout determines yield before planting begins. Sketch your growing area with rough measurements. Mark structures, fences, trees, and anything that blocks light. Then identify where direct sunlight falls for at least 6 hours. Sun exposure should dictate placement. Tomatoes and peppers belong in full sun. Lettuce and herbs tolerate partial shade. Position crops based on light needs, not visual balance. Next, think vertically. Tomatoes climb, beans climb, cucumbers climb. A trellis converts vertical air into productive surface area, effectively multiplying yields without expanding footprint. Vertical growing allows small patios and beds to perform beyond their size. Water access is equally critical. If watering is inconvenient, consistency drops. Plan proximity to water now, not later. A layout that accounts for sunlight, vertical structure, and water access reduces friction. Reduced friction increases follow-through. Planting day should feel like execution, not improvisation. Combine frost state, crop selection, and layout into a visible timeline. Mark indoor seed starting dates clearly. Add transplant windows, usually 1 to 2 weeks after your frost date for warm season crops. Include direct sow dates for beans and greens. For crops like lettuce and spinach, stagger plantings every 2 to 3 weeks. Succession planting keeps harvest steady instead of overwhelming. A timeline transforms your garden from a one-time event into a season-long system. 2 weeks before your first planting date, confirm supplies. Seed trays, potting mix, labels, seeds, and adequate light should already be in place. Planning early prevents last-minute scrambling and unnecessary purchases. Indoor starts demand light intensity most windowsills cannot provide. Seedlings stretch toward weak light and become thin and fragile. A basic grow light setup solves this completely. Position full-spectrum bulbs 2 to 4 inches above seedling tops and raise the fixture as plants grow. Run lights 14 to 16 hours daily. Consistency matters more than brightness. Temperature also controls germination speed. Tomatoes and peppers germinate fastest between 70 and 80 degrees. A heating mat beneath trays accelerates emergence by several days. Once seedlings break the surface, remove bottom heat and maintain air temperature between 65 and 75 degrees. Warm soil starts seeds. Moderate air grows strong stems. Color code your calendar if possible. Indoor starts in one color, transplants in another, direct sowing in a third. When you glance at your month, the next step becomes obvious. Structured systems reduce mental load and increase completion rates. Most seed starting failures happen in the first 5 days, not the first 5 weeks. Overwatering kills more seedlings than underwatering. Soil should remain moist, but never saturated. If water pools on the surface or trays feel heavy, drainage is poor. Seedlings drown in wet soil before visible symptoms appear. Using garden soil indoors invites disease and compaction. Seed starting mix is sterile, lightweight, and drains correctly. Reusing old potting soil without sterilization carries fungal spores that attack fragile seedlings. Crowding seeds in trays creates competition for light and increases damping off risk, a fungal condition that kills seedlings at the soil line overnight. Space seeds appropriately or thin aggressively once they emerge. Airflow between plants reduces moisture buildup and fungal pressure. 3 mistakes quietly derail most gardens. First, starting too many varieties. Complexity increases maintenance and divides attention. 5 focused crops outperform 20 scattered ones every time. Second, ignoring written dates. Memory fades across months. Missed windows reduce harvest size and strength. Third, panic purchasing in spring. Waiting until demand peaks increases cost and reduces choice. Planning now gives you options. One additional mistake is overthinking soil before anything is planted. A quality potting mix works well for containers. Compost improves ground beds. Perfect soil matters less than timely planting. Seeds in good soil outperform unplanted seeds in perfect soil every time. Planning removes these risks before they appear. This system is simple and repeatable. Frost date, crop selection, space map, timeline.
4 structured steps completed in February prevent months of correction later. Most people wait for warmth. Productive growers prepare while it still feels early. What's one gardening mistake you've made in the past or are worried about making this season? Overplanting? Starting too late? Share it in the comments as there's no judgment here. We're all learning.